I welcome you to another important lecture. And in today's class, we will be understanding that what the barriers our body have that would avoid or that would prevent the pathogen entering into or to the inside of your body. Now you see for the previous class we have seen that the diseases they can be contagious or they can be non-contagious, and the contagious diseases were transmitted or they were caused by the pathogens and they would spread from or they would transmit from one person to another. So our human body is smart, and this is smart in a way that this has developed some specialized kind of the barriers, and these barriers they would never allow the pathogen to enter on the inside of your body. And by the barriers, what we mean is that there would be presence of some structures in our body, and they would be the physical structures, or they would be a kind of a mechanical barriers that would not allow the pathogen to enter into your body. Our body has also an ability to be producing some chemical secretions, and they are the chemical barriers, and they again would not allow the entry of the pathogen. And there is this third situation coming up with us, and that would be that on the surface of your body, some chemical reaction would be happening, like the clotting, and that again would not allow the pathogen to enter into your body. So this means that the best approach is that we should restrict the pathogens on the surface of the body, and we should not allow them to enter on the inside of the body, or we must not allow the pathogen to reach the cells of our body, because if that would happen, then there is a great chance that these pathogens can harm your body more. So if I were to tell you about the fundamental mechanical or the physical barriers that our body have got, so in that we have this skin coming. And then in the airways that we have the trachea and the bronchus with us, so it would have the ciliated cells in them. And likewise, you see that in our nose, we have got these hairs, and they again act as a mechanical or a physical barrier, and they would not allow the entry of the pathogen into your body. If I were to talk about the chemical barriers. So the word itself indicates that these chemical barriers, they are the chemical secretions which are produced in the body, and their role again is to be restricting the entry of the pathogens. And among the fundamental chemical barriers which our body is producing, so we have this sticky secretion being produced in our airways and also in the alimentary canal as well, and this would be the mucus. And surprisingly, the eyes they produce a tear, and this has lysozymes in it, and again they would not allow the pathogens to enter, or it would simply kill the pathogens. And then in the stomach of our digestive system or the alimentary canal, we have got this hydrochloric acid being produced, and this has such a low pH of 2 that it again would kill any of the pathogen that would be present within the contaminated food or the water that by some chance we are taking into the body. Likewise, if I were to tell you about the chemical reaction happening on the surface of the body, so this is a clotting mechanism where the scab would form on the surface of your body, and that again would not allow the pathogens to get an entry on the inside. Let me just quickly take you to a diagram where we must be in the position to highlight that where in our body we have got these physical and the chemical barriers. Now, here you see that we have the skin, and in the skin we have this top epidermis, and below that we have got this dermis layer. And our epidermis has got some dead cells, and they are also deposited with a keratin protein. So this would act as a physical barrier. Now, likewise, if I were to take you to the airway, so we have this nose coming here, and in the nose we have the hair, and they would again act as a mechanical or the physical barrier. Likewise, you see that here at the front of the esophagus, we have got this trachea present, and then the trachea it basically divides into the bronchus and ultimately the bronchioles and finally the alveoli. So, but in this trachea that we have here coming, so this has these ciliated cells, and these ciliated cells again they have a sweeping action, so they would again act as a physical or the mechanical barrier. And if I were to quickly highlight some of the chemical barriers that my body is possessing. So you see that the eye secretion, that is a tear, and the nasal secretion, so they have some specialized enzymes in them, and they have an ability to be digesting the pathogens. And moreover, this trachea that we have, so this also has got some goblet cells in it, and these goblet cells, they produce this sticky substance out of them, and this sticky substance is what we refer to as, or what we call this as a mucus, and this again would act as a chemical barrier to be avoiding the entry of the pathogen on the inside of my body. And we can never neglect about the stomach coming with us. And in the stomach, we have this acid being produced, and this acid is the hydrochloric acid. And the hydrochloric acid is a strong acid whose pH is maintained at 2, and at such a low or a high acidic pH, the pathogens that we have got in our food and the water, they would not be able to infect our body. They would be killed. And for these large intestines that we have, so here some of the friendly living bacteria live, and they would outcompete, or they would not allow the harmful bacteria to be growing inside of our body. So this is how the different chemical and the mechanical barriers that we have in the body. So I have highlighted it for you. So if I were to be telling you everything that I have highlighted above in the description, what you need to know is that the body actually has got three main ways in which it would defend itself against the diseases, and I have said we have these mechanical barriers. And these mechanical barriers, they make it difficult for the pathogens to get past into the inside of the body. And among them, as I've said above, that we have the skin, and it would cover all the parts of your body, and it would not allow the pathogens to enter. And in some cases, when the skin is cut or if this is grazed, so it heals itself by initially forming the scab. So this again would prevent the entry of the pathogens. Among the mechanical barrier, I have again have said above that we have the hair in our nose, and when we are inhaling the air, so by some, if we have got some irritant or the pathogen coming, so it would be trapped by them. And if I were to talk about the chemical barriers, so in the chemical barriers, we have got some cells of our body, and these cells, what they do is that they would give some chemical secretions. And among them, as I've said, that we have this mucus, and this mucus is produced in various places. Like it would be produced in your airways, it would be there in your alimentary canal. Now, since this mucus is sticky, so it will trap the pathogens in itself, and we can further remove them after we are coughing, or we are blowing the nose, or we are swallowing the food. So ultimately, the mucus would be doing the purpose. And you see, as I've said above, that the stomach acid is produced in the stomach. We have this acid being produced, which is a hydrochloric acid, and having a very low pH. This hydrochloric acid is very strong enough that it would kill any of the pathogens that has been caught in the mucus of the airways. You know that we have the trachea here. So from the trachea, the mucus is moved upward that have the pathogen, and when this lies inside of the pharynx, so from here it would be ingested, or it would be taken into the stomach with the help of this esophagus stomach. So this is how the mucus that we have brought from the airways having the pathogen is being getting digested by the hydrochloric acid that we have within the stomach. Or by some mean, if by mouth, if we are taking some contaminated food or the water having pathogens in it, so again this hydrochloric acid that we have in the stomach, so it would be digesting these pathogens off. So I hope you would be clear with the idea of the word barriers, how many barriers we have got in the body, and where in our body these barriers are located. So see you for the next class.